Oh yes, I'm back. Married at First Sight UK, Episode 7, Part 2. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is now served. I'm upset already. The dinner started on a nice note, with Bob making a speech. Everybody applauded and thanked him for a lovely speech. But did you see Megan? Megan's head was in her hands to start with when he started that speech. When he finished the speech now, as I said, everybody applauded. Except she had to come with a little dig right behind it, saying it was a little bit waffly. Shut your mouth! Shut up! She's constantly just making snide digs whenever she can. There was no need for it. If I remember rightly, it was Adam that turned around and said, no, it was good. There was nothing wrong with that speech. Just leave him alone. Ooh, that girl has already got my back up. At the beginning, as I said, I was rooting for her. Now she is just jarring me. She's grating on me. Oh, I thought Nikita was bad. She's bad in a different way. Let me compose myself and we will carry on. Now that was a nice speech from Bob. The next person to make herself visible, to make herself known, was the one and only Miss Nikita. Where did she come from? She came out with something like, have your partner's back. What was that all about? You know, everybody else was looking at her to think, what's she talking about? Who's she having a dig at? What's she getting at? And then she started talking about, don't anybody get on the wrong side of her. Otherwise they'll be wearing her effing drink. Something like that, she said. Is this girl, what is she on? What is she on? I don't know whether she was talking about herself and Ant, whether she was having a dig at Jordan and Alexis, or Megan and Bob. I have no clue. I'm still a little bit baffled. I'm going to assume that that dig was at Jordan, because his face looked like, who is this girl? He sat there like a deer in headlights, looking absolutely gormless. After that, the dinner party carried on a nice note. The boys were chatting. There was a group of them talking to Frankie about how he looked so smitten and loved up in that sort of way. And yeah, nice little conversation they were having over in that corner there. And then it came on to Megan and Bob. Bob whispered something into Megan's ear. Something about her being the most beautiful woman in the room. And of course she took it and thanked him. But at the same time, it wasn't exactly reciprocated, was it? Awkward. Then, next minute you know, he's behaving like a clown. I don't know what that was, piece of food that he had in his hand that he fed himself. Oh, Bob. Come on, man. Can we just have one night of not all this clowning around? Just be normal without all the antics. And again, I can see where it all goes wrong with them two. Because she's not that person. She's very introverted and he's such an extrovert. And then on the flip side, he can cry at the drop of a hat. Ugh. Oh, I don't get this. But at the same time, I believe that's his coping mechanism. The clowning. To hide either his embarrassment or how he's feeling. Yeah, so all of it is very much a facade for him. No one can be like that 24/7. There's deeper issues going on there. And later when Megan was talking into the camera and talking about Bob clowning. She doesn't find it attractive, and she doesn't want to have to keep telling him off like he's a child. And believe me, I can definitely understand that. That would look like you're constantly nagging, which is also unattractive. There was a conversation that Morag and Maralise was having about their partners. Maralise made a point about Morag's partner, what's his name again? Luke, being such a nice guy. Morag then said something like her mum loves him. She's rooting for them. And same with Maralise and her partner Frankie. Maralise's mum said if you don't want him, virtually she'll take him off her hands. So again, we're going to have to see how these two get on. These two couples get on. The next conversation was with the loudest person in the room. Oh yes, she's back. Count Drakita. The next thing that came out of her mouth was a question directed at Jordan. Her exact words were, "So Jordan," as she screamed across the table, "how did your honeymoon go with Alexis? I'm eager to know. Did you see her body language? Did you see how she was already on the defensive? Her hands clasped, her face pushed up, her mouth screwed. Oh, she was ready." The poor guy didn't stand a chance. He looked startled. He was thinking, oh God, here we go. Get ready for this. World War III is about to begin. He started off by saying, "I'll tell you exactly how it went." And right behind it, she said, "Go on, my darling." Was she taking the piss? Was she taking the piss? With her sarcastic tone. She was edging for a fight. Oh yes, she was edging for a fight. In short, he said the honeymoon started off on a rocky note and ended with smiles. That was it. But then behind that, she said, "Oh, how did that work? I like it when people elaborate. Please elaborate." Something like that, she said. Oh, this girl, she's poking the bear. She is. It was at this point that Jordan tried to shut down the conversation by saying he had not much more to say, which left Count Drakita struggling to come back with a response. It was shortly thereafter that everybody else piped in with their questions. It was in response to those questions thrown at both Jordan and Alexis that they both agreed that they had a shit honeymoon. Jordan mentioned something at the latter part of that conversation in regards to he made a mistake. He could have done things differently on the honeymoon, made her feel more comfortable. Alexis herself was surprised to hear him say that. Because when she turned around to him, she turned around and said something like, "This is the first time I've heard those words come out your mouth." Then Nikita came with her question, "Are you in love? Are you going to continue to grow from this?" Something like that. And their response was very much, "We're just friends." Yeah, they've established that they're just friends. I'm not too sure I call that a friendship, to be honest. That looked very strained. They're being very cordial with each other. That's what I call that. That is an acquaintance. That is not a friend. After looking at Alexis's face, the next question that Nikita came out with was, "So is Alexis your type? So is Alexis your type? So is Alexis your type?" She must have said it about 3 times. And then his reply was, I heard you the first time. Oh God. You know where we're going with this. And then behind that, she turned around and said something like, so answer us then. Oh my goodness me. Then he replied, fair enough. And then behind that, she did a quick dig. Am I speaking clear English for you? Oh, I don't know. Oh, this girl is raring for a fight. Oh, she's raring for a fight. He replied to her like a gentleman. Not that she deserves it. But his answer was, Alexis is not normally my type, but we're working on what we've got. Something like that, he said. She then turns around and says, you're punching, meaning he's punching above his weight, and that she's too good for him. Oh, I don't know. You would think these two were in a relationship. How is it Nikita's business? How is it Nikita's business? The girl too fast. Why is she trying to flog a dead horse? Alexis is not his type, let alone they have anything in common. Why force something? She's not his type. It's not all about the looks. It's personality too. They don't gel. End of story. But no, not Nikita. She wasn't going to leave it there. She started seething. You could see her seething. She was telling, what's her husband's name again? Oh, you know who I mean. Ant. That she can't stand people like him. Ant then turned around to say to her, are you going to draw a line under it? Oh no. Oh no. Not Count Drakita. Oh no. She's only just started. Her husband had no say. She was getting ready for liftoff. She was telling Ant that she was going to get him. How old is this woman? She behaves like she's in the school playground or in some sort of boxing ring. Is she a man dressed as a woman? Somebody please tell me. I thought the conversation was done at that point. The next thing that came out of her mouth, I don't know where it came from, because my man, Jordan, wasn't talking to her. No, like I said, she was still seething. So she's not necessarily muttering under her breath. She's saying it aloud to the table. He's effing doing my head in. Yes, that's what she said. He's effing doing my head in. Of course, the whole table heard. Then Jordan responded in a calm voice, speak to me in English. Yes, that's exactly what he said. As I said, he did it very calmly, in a gentlemanly fashion. Oh, she didn't like that. She did not like that. The next minute you know, she's saying, are you calling me a divvy? Just in case you don't know what a divvy is, that's someone that's dumb. Are you calling me a divvy? That's what she said. Then she called him a Welsh so-and-so. Not too sure what the words were. We didn't get to hear that bit. She was actually standing up at that point when she said Welsh so-and-so. Next minute you know, it was like, cut. End of scene. The next time we saw it, she was sitting down. Slightly calmer. Now, yeah, it was more of a discussion at this point rather than an argument. He was trying to put his point across and to say the swearing doesn't work for him. If you've got something to say it without the swearing. He can't relate to all that swearing. I'm exactly the same as him. Articulate yourself without the swearing. And that is what he meant by please speak English. The next person to take up that discussion was Josh with Nikita. He was saying, why are you letting it bother you? Something like that. And again, she said something about Alexis being her mate. They bonded at the hen party and she's not going to have anybody talk to her friend like that. Something like that, she said. And Josh turned around and said, but what is it to do with you? You weren't on their honeymoon. Plus, there's two sides to every story. Something along those lines, he said. And he was so right. I think that's the most intelligent I've seen him. It was at this point that finally, yes, finally, Miss Alexis spoke. She said, this is not the time. Not the time, not the place to talk about this. We're here as a collective. It's supposed to be a nice night. But instead it's ended up in World War III. That's virtually what she was trying to say. Alexis was coming to her husband's defence. Yes, she was. That is the role of a wife. Whether they got on or not, she was coming to his defence because this was getting out of hand. Miss Nikita was still trying to stand her ground and say that, I don't even know what she was saying. I lost the plot after that. But the last thing I remember her saying was, I'm still going to complain because he called me a divvy. He called her a divvy. That was her only line of defence now, because she had nothing else to argue with. Now this girl was starting to look stupid because Alexis had made her point, left her out in the cold while she went back to support her husband. Nikita. Now this is where she got off her seat. Again. It was at this point that again Josh intervened and told her to sit down and speak to everyone properly. At that point, there was no point. She couldn't give a shit. Those were her words. Yep. I don't give a shit. That's what she said. Josh then told her to stop being childish and to sit down and chat. But she was gone clear by that point. She was already walking away. So that fell on deaf ears. It was not long after that Ant piped up and spoke. Yes, her husband. After she'd left the room now, he decides to speak. His words were, now do you see what I'm dealing with? Oh my goodness me. She heard that. She heard that from outside. Yes, she did. And guess what happened next? Yes, you've got it. She came storming back in, pointing the finger at Ant, telling him, don't sit there and effing slag me off. Yes, that's what she said. I'm not an effing divvy. She was just fuming. Her eyes were red. Yes, she was fuming. I think she was a little bit emotional because she looked like she was a little bit teary behind the eyes. Yeah, she was that fuming. She was pointing at Ant and saying, I'm not a beg. She's pointing at everybody. Meaning, she's not here to beg friends or to be in contract with anyone. She'll do what she wants. I'm not that desperate that I need this. That's really what she was saying. I'm not a beg. Again, she said, I'm not an effing divvy. Not too sure who that was aimed at, whether that was at the whole table. I think it might have been. I'm leaving anyway. But she was fuming by this point. I don't know who she was talking to. Ant then said he couldn't care less. His words were, I don't care. And then she replied, I'm not saying that you care. Then his response behind that was, well, go then. I'm going. That was exhausting. She turned on her heels and she was gone. We saw the back of Nikita. She has now left the building. Once the dinner party had calmed down from that eruption, Jordan decided to make a speech. Yes, Jordan. He was just apologising for how the night had gone. And with Ant being alone, not to forget Ant as part of the group. And that we're all in this together. Yeah. So that was virtually the gist of the speech. Megan was later on speaking into the camera about Jordan's speech. And initially she said she was very sceptical about him. But after that speech, he's shown her a genuine and sincere side to himself, which she likes in a guy. So this is interesting. Later on, she was having a discussion with Jordan about her relationship with Bob and how they don't get on so well and he's too extrovert for her and she likes somebody with a bit of mystery. And he's wondering, what is mystery? We gathered that it was somebody chilled and laid back, which sort of describes Jordan. That's quite interesting to know. We're going to see where this goes. Not long after that, there was a phone call. Yep, there was a phone call at the table that Morag picked up. And it was from Daniel. Yep, Daniel. Him and Matt are stuck abroad. Still on their honeymoon. Still together. Yep. So the whole table applauded when they heard this. And hopefully they will see them at the next dinner party. Not too sure what's happened there. I'm going to presume it's some sort of quarantine situation. So that was the end of that phone call. The next conversation we saw was amongst the boys. They were discussing Adam's relationship. And he was saying to them that everything's virtually like a whirlwind. He can't falter. Everything's very natural with them. She's actually going to be moving into his house, I believe. I think that's what he said. I'm sure that's what he said. At the moment, they live like 2.5 miles apart. I'm sorry. They live about 2.5 hours apart. 2.5 hours apart. And she will be moving into his place. This is moving very quickly. Yeah, so it's like they can't believe that all this has happened. And it's all within the space of a week. This, to me, is moving too fast. But we're just going to have to wait and see. So watch this space. And finally, the last conversation of the evening was between Alexis and Ant. Them two were talking about relationships, of course, and about how their honeymoon didn't go according to plan. Then they came to the conclusion that things weren't meant to be within their relationships. He's drawn a line under him and Nikita, of course. And so has Alexis, really. She was saying that Jordan is not really bothered. We sort of came to the conclusion that if we found anybody tonight, there were no hard feelings. So they're quite open to date new people, if that's the case. And then he started flirting with her. Ant started flirting with Alexis, asking her, so what's your type? And he kept saying, is it somebody with green eyes? She didn't quite click straight away. Then he said it again. So are we talking about somebody with green eyes? Then she started laughing back because she got the gist of what he was trying to get at. Yeah, he's got green eyes. So there's a little spark going on between them two. So we're going to have to wait and see whether this goes anywhere. This is where I'm going to leave it. So we've finally come to the end of this review. And commentary, of course. So if you like what you've heard, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.